Oh, we are the men who stare at cups.
My name is Drew.
I'm Bryan.
And we are live from the Phoenix Ridge Studios. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think
all
for
right.
once we should really be true to our name. You know, just cut right to the chase.
So the staring at cups meme is the idea that you stare at a cup and then you just think about everything that comes from the cup. My cup says taste the earth.
My cup says shut up and do a podcast.
Yeah, buddy. Okay. Today we're gonna hammer something home today, which we started with last time, which was how to survive the recession as an existentialist.
Mm-hmm.
The argument we made, if you didn't listen to the last podcast, and by the way, if you have anything, go ahead and hit the like button, the comment thing, if you want to like jump in and like you got anything to say. But please, we are fairly new to the YouTube thing, so if you get any value at all, show the algorithm some love. Just do your part.
Yeah, leave a comment
or something.
Talk to us. We'll answer your questions.
So surviving as an existentialist in the recession. What it really comes down to is what recession?
Mm.
If you're a good existentialist, you should just be doing what you've been doing because you found value in the thing you were doing. So why would the fact that there's economic turmoil have anything to do with what you're doing?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and take you literally, just for fun.
Sure, why not?
Okay, well, what if the thing that you're doing requires a certain amount of expendable income?
So, as an existentialist, I would argue that what we're actually looking for is that, like, to create something that you value is to create something that has meaning. If money is something that is a requirement for you to create meaning in the universe, you are a bad existentialist.
Okay, but I mean, it does though, to some extent, right? I mean,
well, sure. I mean, but if the income
you're an
goes,
artist, you need pencils and paper.
Well, that could be true, but some of the, like, one of my favorite Rembrandts. So I got a Rembrandt right in that corner right over there. That is the picture of Faust looking through what I'm assuming is like a philosopher's stone kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's done monochromatically, so with just one color of a pen and a picture. And here I am, 300 years later, buying a 24 by 36 print of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like to write, what's the cost to write? It's very little, right? To be able to write a story or whatever. If you want to make musical art, like there is any number of free computer programs to be able to make music, right?
Sure. Or I mean, really, you could do a lot in your head, believe it or not.
You really can.
You really can sit in a room quietly and do a lot in this computer.
And you should be able to, at the end of that, say, look, I've made something of value, right? Or you spend your time staring at the cup and you think, oh, taste the earth, I want to be in my body. What does that actually mean? And you might actually just wind up, what does that mean for, me if I'm going to write a story? What does this mean if I'm going to apply this? And then I'm going to make something beautiful out of it that's got some meaning. So one of the things I've always come to, one of the things I'm trying to come to more and more to terms with is, if I live an entire day and I make no art, have I proved to myself that I lived today?
Okay. Yeah, that's a hardcore Drew way of going about it.
Yeah, it is a hardcore Drew. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, it's very...
I get your point. Totally.
It's very on or off.
Yeah.
But it's just a great litmus test to see whether you lived. Now, if what you did today was, pick up 13 levels on Elden Ring, right? Maybe that you didn't make any real art unless you got your 13 levels without doing, by doing something cool and then you posted it on YouTube or whatever. Like, if somebody does something cool and they don't post it on YouTube, did it really happen? So today, what we're going to talk about today is, if you don't have that thing, or if you're like, look, I believe that life has meaning, but I don't actually have a thing to chase after.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we were talking about how men and women mostly are the same, but in one thing, men and women are so unbelievably different.
Okay.
Philosophy. When you talk to women about philosophy, it's just such a different conversation than when a bunch of guys get together around a campfire and talk about philosophy.
Yeah, well, how did that go with your wife?
Well, it went really well because what we were discussing was I was saying that and this is kind of a Joseph Campbell argument that men are oriented to a North Star.
Yeah.
And you're kind of always chasing this North Star because that's the natural orientation of men. Now, Campbell also argues that the natural orientation for women is to the village, to the Ouroboros space, right?
Yeah. You could look at it as male Apollonian, female Dionysian.
Sure, very very simple. Yeah, well, that's why Nietzsche was so feminine.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, I'm just kidding. So here's the funny thing about North Stars. Go out at noon tomorrow when the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and look at the sky and tell me where the hell the North Star is located.
During the day?
During the day, yeah, because it's bright and sunny, man. It's like life is
You're not
brief.
existentialism eliminating enough if you don't have your astral map.
So the question is,
you can get the app on your phone.
can you locate a North Star without it being night? Can you locate the North Star when it's bright outside? Or is there an element of darkness? Is there an element of mystery that is a prerequisite to locating a star?
Where is the moon when you need it during the day?
Yeah, well, like it's not like you pull out your app and be like, "Where's the meaning sky and my star?"
I feel like North Star better though, because you can totally see the moon during the day.
You can see the moon during the day.
Anyway,
but so sitting there and being like, "Okay, I want to orient to the North Star because if you don't have some sort of artistic direction, or even worse, you're like 25 or you're 30." And you know that there's meaning, but every time you make a piece of art, you compare that art to somebody else or somebody else's art, right? And so then you get frustrated with it, and you don't even have that much time anyways, because you got to get up and go to your like corporate soul-sucking job, right? And so you spend all this time working in a corporate soul-sucking job, and then when you finally get a chance to make art, you compare it to death. And then you're like, well, screw this. And then crypto starts making a bunch of money and you're like, hey, the sun is shining. Who needs meaning in art when you have NFTs?
well, but artists make those.
No, they don't.
AIs make them.
I mean,
How many iterations of that monkey do we need?
I'm not a fan.
No, me either.
I'm not a fan.
It's our generation's Pogs. Except,
oh my God.
Except you can lose so much more money. Instead of that kid like beating you up and taking your Pogs. Although I never got beaten up, but like it was like I swear nobody actually knew how to play Pogs. Mm-hmm. Like there was a game, but there wasn't.
Yeah, and there were slammers.
Every kid you played with had different rules. Now the kid with the most Pogs, pretty sure what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, the big giant tube.
Yeah, what that asshole was doing is he was making up new rules every time, and he was a little precocious. He already had armpit hair. He kind of stank a little bit.
Oh, dude, and, he was like a silverback gorilla in sixth grade. He basically
just kind of handed over all your Pogs.
Yeah, Robert, that was the guy's name in my school, man.
But then you learned a lesson. Hopefully, going into the future, you learned something from Pogs. Not to fall for that kind of nonsense.
Right.
What was so alluring about it? It must really appeal to some like base level psychology, like the training.
Well, it's the idea. It's the idea that if you collect enough things that other people want, you will feel meaning.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is actually one of the biggest tropes, I think, of like Americana existence. That if you collect the objects that everybody else wants, then they will all, by virtue of that, want to be your friend.
Yeah. I hope most people grow out of that by the time they hit their 20s.
They don't.
Yeah.
Well,
That's scary to me.
So this last weekend, I recently read The Great Gatsby.
Ooh.
Because, what, and that's okay. But what was crazy about The Great Gatsby to me, and this is like the thing I found to be like, I almost cried at the end. And what it was that he threw these great big giant parties, this great big giant house, and hundreds of people would show up every single week. They'd listen to his music. They'd drink his booze. They would party like, and it was like, and everybody from like half the people were there they were like of the old rich. They were there to judge. And the new rich were there to revel in the idea of new rich. And they finally get to party like the old rich, right? So he dies, right? He gets shot. Spoiler alert, whatever. Deal with it. So he gets shot in this pool that he's never swam in. And he falls into the pool, right? So the only time he ever enjoys his pool the entire time is when he's dying. So he dies, and then they have this funeral service. And the lead character's name is Nick Carraway. He calls every single person who attended Gatsby's parties and says, "Will you come to the funeral?" And at the end of the movie, not a single soul other than the priest, Gatsby's father, and Nick Carraway are at the funeral. Let me tell you something. If you're the Pog master and you die, nobody is coming to your funeral.
Yeah.
Because they did not hang out with you because you had any decency. They didn't hang out with you other than for your giant pog schlong that you would like. You remember the giant tubes, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe there was, let's bring Freud into it. Maybe it was a phallic kind of
There
thing.
certainly was. Bryan pog schlong, right? I mean,
I got my big pog schlong. I got my slammers.
I got my slammer, right? It's got
All
like a
the girls.
skull and crossbones.
You know who did not think, going back to men and women, you know who did not think pogs were cool?
Who?
Women.
What?
Really?
Really?
That was a young dude thing. I don't recall any.
I don't recall a single woman that liked pogs either.
And they were much better off for it.
That's funny. I don't know a lot of women that really love crypto either.
Yeah, they're out there.
They're out there.
Yeah. I've met a couple, but yeah, it's right.
Yeah, few and far between.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hardest part in Americana existentialism is to somehow, some way, realize that being the pog master, being the guy who has the assets, right? Yeah. We can't ever get away from this. It's so hard to get. Okay, so we did an episode a while ago. We keep bringing it up because it's just correct, which is a tool in his assets. Like, if you strive to be the guy with the car that everybody wants to be in the car, and that everybody wants to go to your house, and everybody wants to drink your booze, and everybody wants to party with you because you're some sort of like famous for being famous. You're like a male Kardashian.
And you got to be careful, right? You're going to be the Gatsby.
You will be Gatsby.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot pogmaster your way into getting the woman that you love, into getting your kids to love you, into finding a job that you find meaningful.
Is that a thing we're gonna start seeing?
I mean, it is right now. Yeah. It is right now, but yes.
The next time I'm out and about and I see a really like well put together guy with a Rolex step out of an Audi, I bet that guy has mad fun. Yeah.
He's got so many pogs. Look at that guy, right? What a douche.
Yeah, I guess Audis are a little cooler than pogs.
Not really. Not in my book. I mean, like in my book, if you're going to spend $80,000, you can either buy a flashier car. Or no, okay. Look, that's the point. Is that what we find ourselves stuck in is saying, I have to have these pogs to think that everyone's going to like me. And then we go to these crappy jobs in Fight Club speech format to collect pogs that we don't even like and slammers that we don't even use. And we all just keep going to these shit jobs to collect these shit pogs. And we don't even have the common decency to just take a piece of cardboard, cut a circle, draw a smiley face on it, and say, look at my pog. I made this. This is a one-of-a-kind pog.
Yeah, and you're not going to hustle me out of it with
That's right.
trickery
That's right.
in your armpit hair.
I'm going to take a picture of it, and then I'm going to sell it to you for your entire pog schlong.
Oh, my goodness.
So, okay, so we've identified that the hardest part of being in the Americana culture is this obsession with pogs.
Yeah.
Okay. We've also identified that you have to have some sort of we've identified that the recession shouldn't matter because all the recession does is make it harder to collect pogs. That's the only thing it does.
Right. So we're saying the existentialist is by nature very anti-fragile, has their own system of defining, creating, and exchanging value, and
Yeah.
is therefore somewhat immune, if not entirely immune.
Some
sense.
The pure existentialist should be entirely immune from recessional
Despair.
recessional existential despair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You know, like if you're obsessively looking at the Drudge Report or whatever to see how much the stock market has crashed, or you're obsessively looking at the crypto trades to see how much it's crashed. Like you're obsessively negging out on the world's collective pogs.
Yeah.
What you really ought to be doing, and if you're a true existentialist, you aren't even checking that stuff. Like, yes, your retirement's hit. You're allowed to feel bummed that like your savings, you're allowed to feel bummed that like maybe like you lost your job or whatever, but never should that feeling of deep, hopeless, I don't matter, everything I do is pointless. Those feelings should never enter the mind, or if they do enter it, you recognize it as the temporariness of it is, and you say to yourself, well, it's just pogs.
Well, and you might even find yourself having those types of thoughts inversely in situations where you probably wouldn't, like the sun is out at 3 in the morning, or the moon is out at 3 in the afternoon, kind of. Like,
Yeah.
you might be in a place, and you know that no matter how close to the pinnacle of everything being perfect you get, there's still plenty of dread up there as well.
Oh,
So that when things like change, it's like, well, my dread isn't dependent on the weather. It's got its own thing.
yeah, when you attach, because that's the Kierkegaard idea of existential dread.
Yeah.
That we all have this feeling of aloneness.
Mm-hmm.
That we are somehow floating alone in the universe, and we don't really matter, and that in the great scheme of billions of years, nothing is actually going to matter. Like that, all of that dread, it just seeps into your core. Now, when you attach economic forecasting to your dread, and it's dreadful out there, and you attach that dread, now, the real danger is when everything is good outside, it's all great, and you think that somehow because the economic world outside is great, you're great.
Yeah, it's going to feel good for a little bit, but you're in for it.
You are really in for it.
Hey, you're in for it bad. Those are the types of people that blow their brains out after they make a bad move.
Yeah.
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 Not anti-fragile.
No, not anti-fragile.
Should not be gambling.
Should not be gambling. Should not be investing. And that was one of the things that we had covered about existentialism and speculation. Can the existentialist speculatively invest? And my answer to that is a hard no. Because the existentialist is obsessed. He's obsessed with creating value. And if you're speculating, you're not looking at value as the chief, like, modus operandi. You're looking at profit as the modus operandi.
I'd say one could be an existentialist, dabble in that, but in a way where it's like, they're playing a game.
In theory, yes.
Like,
but
they're not setting their destiny. It's not intertwined with
Sure.
that. They might be.
Peril.
Let's see what that does. Click.
The peril with that is if you invest speculatively, and profit's the chief concern, not value, if it works, you will do more of it.
Yeah.
And you'll keep doing more of it. And that right there, because okay, when you set yourself up to be dopamine biohacked by a speculative investment, you will continue to speculatively invest because you've already dopamine biohacked yourself. You've trained yourself to want profit over value.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gambling on altcoins and like truly believing in the technology of Doge or
They,
Shiba or whatever the hell.
my argument is if you did truly believe in the thing,
Yeah.
you would be a rabid evangelist. You'd be out there on Twitter, like spreading the tweets, doing whatever it is young people are doing these days. You'd be like tweet talking or whatever. Welcome to Boomer Town, everybody. No, I mean, you would just be out there telling the good news. You'd be spreading the gospel of Doge.
You'd be hanging out with your local pod club.
Yeah,
spreading the good word.
And you would also be looking at how you could you'd be talking to your local coffee shop. Hey, how come you guys aren't taking the Doge yet? Right?
Yeah, those people aren't annoying at all.
They're not annoying. They are terribly annoying.
That was me back in like 2014.
It happens. So how do you locate a North Star? I think that the location of the North Star for you is going to lie somewhere. We talk about edges when we talk about like permaculture. So permaculture is this idea of farming. I'm not going to go overly into it, but essentially wherever two different ecosystems meet each other, there's 90% of the life forms of the world live on edges. So where the mountains meet the desert, where the river meets the sea, right? Where the rivers meet the plains, that's where all of the biodiversity is. It's in the edges.
Yeah, it's like what Peterson was saying about building your house on like the border of chaos and order.
Well, yeah, if you build your house on the border in the city of chaos, you're not going to actually you'll have diversity in so much as things are being destroyed all of the time. But you won't have the ability to build on what you'll have is a series of one-offs, right? Like if you looked at women and you said the only issue is that I have to worry about if I'm going to have sex tonight, you're just dwelling literally in the pool of chaos because everything is this series of one-offs and nothing is ever going to build on top of the next thing.
Yeah, swimming in the Dionysian puddle of
But then again, if you live like in the 1700s and you've got this arranged marriage and everything is so set and and you have to marry your cousin and it's all like just in pure order at all times.
You're gonna get more done, probably.
You'll be able to build a lot, but will you build anything that is interesting or life-giving, as it were?
Maybe,
maybe not. I mean, all that sexual repression is going to have to create something.
Yeah, it is. So the border.
So the borders.
That's teeming with life.
Yeah. So where that's going to be is your North Star. The greatest amount of biodiversity in your life is going to be where 2 points of suffering meet each other.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Maybe. Keep going.
All right. So, like for me, I am an existentialist. Like actually, in that, like reading literature or whatever. I am also an entrepreneur. Right? So a big North Star for me is going to be doing this podcast because it's right where the two really meet. It's where these two edges of things that are profoundly me meet each other, and they set right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
that's where the innovation is going to be.
Well, that's where
the stuff you don't expect.
Yeah,
is going to happen.
Exactly.
The magic.
Yeah, so for you, there is an obvious, like you have this view of the world, like you're a little bit more conspiratorial than I am. You're a little bit more on that side of things. Well, maybe not. Well, actually, okay, well, all right, fair enough. You're more vocal about it on air. So you have that, but you also have your musicianship, right? and you have a lot of suffering tied to your musicianship.
Oh, sweet.
Like, jeez.
Sweet
I mean, like, you're
Oh.
the most but anybody who's played as much music as you have in as many diverse environments as you have, of course you're going to like walk in your musicianship so lightly because you're well aware of both the beauty it can bring, but also how tenuous that beauty is to hold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have the best band in the world and it can completely fall apart because somebody got the wrong burrito at Taco Bell for the lead singer or something.
Totally.
Like, that's real life.
That's a thing.
So for you in locating that, this podcast is a great fit for you. You do a lot of the music stuff. When we do a little bit more of the art stuff, it sets in there correctly, right? And you're not just doing your art, but you're doing your art for a reason.
Yeah, that always feels really good.
It does.
Yeah.
So doing your art or doing the thing that honors your life's journey of suffering for a reason, and ideally within the context of a community of people.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate feelings of, this is awesome, I belong here, I feel satisfied, is when your suffering points you towards the thing. You make the thing for the purpose of showing it and sharing it with your community, and the community validates the purpose, and then you also get to be the recipient of the value that comes from their suffering.
Right. And then also to acknowledge the individualistic side of it when you're in the flow state and you're creating.
Correct.
It's all you.
Right.
It's your inner world getting ripped out.
Yes.
For the rest of the world.
And what is
so you're not letting any of that community necessarily in unless it's already there subconsciously, whatever. We're influenced by all kinds of things.
Sure.
But in that moment,
yeah,
it's that pure, wonderful, blissful individuality.
Right.
But it works because it's going somewhere. It has a destination.
And all of those things require no money. Very little money, or at least certainly not the kind of things that are damaged in the course of a recession. Like cars, boats, Rolexes.
Yeah. Yeah, the meat and potatoes of it all. Like the very bare bones things you should be able to get by with and still be able to do those sorts of things. Should not be wiped out like a tidal wave, like a tsunami coming in.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right.
That's right.
Yeah. It might jostle you. It might shake you.
There's nothing wrong with being jostled,
Yeah.
but if you're within the community of
thing.
people doing your art together,
Yeah.
it just doesn't hurt nearly as bad, because when you're in the community of people that you love, like you and I, we're going through it. We're going through this whole thing. But whenever I come over and hang out and we chit chat, Bryan lives next door to me. It's easy to forget that the pogs aren't what's important here. You know? Like the pogs are not the issue here, man. I got you.
Thank you.
I got you. We got there.
Yeah.
The pogs.
Just a couple dudes doing Lebowski references.
It's just
making dick jokes.
I'm telling you, this
On containers.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a podcast for angry male middle class white men, ages 20 to 35 or 40 or 30.
And if you're not those things, you're more than welcome.
If you're not,
please leave a comment. I wonder what you think.
Yeah, well, if you don't fall into that category, yeah, leave a comment. Let us know that you're out there. Bryan's single, single-ish, I guess. I'm not really sure, but he's not married. Yeah, so we're in that space that we can come together, we can hang out, and we can laugh about the fact that some bully came and slammed our pogs and took our pogs. And you know what? We're going to sit on the edge of the street, and you know what we're going to do? You know what we're going to do, Bryan?
What, make up our own stupid
game?
game?
We're going to make up a stupid game, correct? We're going to go buy a bag of Cheetos.
Okay.
And we're going to sit on the corner, and we're going to have a Slurpee and a bag of Cheetos, and we're going to play first person to 10 points win. And the way you get a point is you flick a Cheeto into the street, and the first car that drives over it, you get a point. And then you both flick new Cheetos out, and you start over again.
You don't need Elden Ring.
No. All you need is a Slurpee and a bag of Cheetos.
Goddamn Cheetos.
I am telling you. So I did this recently. Did I tell you about this?
Exact thing?
Yeah, did I tell you about this?
No.
So for Father's Day, and don't think I'm a bad father for this, my kids asked me what I wanted to do for Father's Day.
Okay.
And I told them I wanted to play a game of Cheetah.
Okay.
So we went and got Slurpees. We each got a bag of
I'm
Cheetos.
sure your kids had a great time.
We walked around downtown Parker, and every time you walked across the street, you dropped the Cheeto. And then when you got to the edge of the street, you turned around to see whose Cheeto got ran over. And we must have walked across 20 crosswalks playing Cheetah.
It's like chicken shit.
It was so fun.
You ever heard of chicken shit bingo?
No.
Okay, so you take a chicken,
Yeah.
put it in a cage,
Okay.
and you lay out a bingo thing.
And if it were ever
It's an actual thing. Yeah.
I love it.
I love making up dumb games like that. That is something I miss the most about early to late adolescence. Growing up in a kind of an armpit suburban area.
Sure.
Pre-digital era, or just on the cusp of it, right? I mean, we're pretty much the same age. You remember that? So, but you grew up in an area where there was more to do, I think. Probably.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
no?
Oh, no. Not at all.
Okay, never mind.
No, I grew up like my average afternoon was walking the railroad tracks and, hoping to stumble across some porn that was left in the riverbed.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
a day well spent.
that was me at 13.
Yeah, well, so same.
Me and my two buddies, we called ourselves the Psycho Bros, and that's what we did. We wandered around, and we TP'd our friends' houses every Friday night. And if we were lucky, the cops would get called, and we would try to run away from the cops. We only got caught one time.
Oh, not bad.
I
All I
mean-
wanted to do in high school was walk on the train tracks. That was probably my favorite thing.
Oh, definitely my favorite thing.
Yeah.
What is okay? Yeah, we could talk about the meaning of why walking on railroad tracks is so particularly awesome. I want to make sure we stay on topic on some level.
Do they have any around here?
Railroad tracks?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta show me.
You want to go walk on the railroad tracks in Benjamin?
Yeah. I do.
Okay. We will go walk on some railroad tracks
Play Pogs?
and play Pogs.
No, we'll play Cheeto.
So that is the moral of this particular episode, which is just the recession shouldn't bother you because all the recession does is make it harder for rich people to buy Pogs.
Yeah, basically, cut your lavish expenses, which you probably don't need and probably don't make you that happy anyhow.
No. Well, and a game of Cheeto. So here's what I also liked about this particular Father's Day is we were kind of broke. So it was like we had like $50 to spend, right? We went to Rocket Fizz. I wanted to buy some Jolt soda.
Jolt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. My kids were like, what do you want to do? I was like, I just want to spend a day as though I was 13. And so we played Cheeto, we bought some Jolt, and then we went and hiked in the riverbed. And the kids were like, this is like the best day ever. And that is the thing that the recession provides. And this is the final point about what the recession provides for you to orient towards a North Star is it provides limitations. See, the lack of funding provides the limitations that make a game like Cheeto more fun than going to a Renaissance fair.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
It is.
You need limitations.
Cliche Bryan, everybody. But no, you're totally right. You should be weeping over that.
I read it on a Pog.
You do. Nice. Well played, sir.
Thank you. No, give me your...
Yeah, give me that pop slung.
Wow.
Oh,
Slow
whoa,
down.
easy there, killer. So
I'm
that's
gonna take a rain check on the
so that's it.
railroad tracks. Yeah.
You have to wait till it gets dark. Then you look at where is your suffering pointing? Where is the edge that you could put to like an ideological suffering mixed with a skill set suffering? I mean, those are like two perfect blends. Like, what is the ideological viewpoint that I have that causes me the most angst? And what skill set do I have that I know that if I don't use, God will throw me into hell for not using it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what I mean by God throwing you into hell is that the human mind puts itself into hell when it doesn't do what it thinks it was made for.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yes, it does.
And then after that, then you just ratchet down the limitations and find a community to share it with.
Totally. So maybe a recession is exactly what we need right now.
I know that it's what I need.
Yeah.
Recession is not a bad thing.
Not to be insensitive to anyone who truly,
Well, I mean, like,
loses their shirt, but
even at that
even then,
point,
I don't mean,
if
life
you
goes on.
if you built a life in such a way, or you took risks in such a way,
It's that fragile. It's dependent on the
you
market being a certain.
made yourself like you chose to walk on the knife edge.
Yeah.
And if your world is collapsing and you didn't choose for that to be your reality, and for that I actually do have a lot of compassion, that is still the point at which you can say, I have myself, and who am I? What have I struggled to believe in? What is the belief that like haunts me? And what skill set am I not using? And who can I share this with? And that is how you find a North Star in the middle of a recession.
That's how you find a North Star in the middle of a recession.
More importantly, it's how you avoid becoming the Pog Master.
Don't play Pogs, all right? Just
And
don't do it.
gosh, if somebody could post in the comments a Pog, post
Post your favorite Pog.
post your favorite Pog,
Or
in the
maybe
comments.
your favorite Pog theory, like who invented them and for what subversive reason.
Even a link to the Wikipedia Pogs would be great. Honestly, like give us some Pog YouTube algorithmic love. All right, that's all I got. I'm Drew.
I'm Bryan.
And we are the Men Who Stare at Cups, live from Phoenix Ridge Studios. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. All right, we love you guys. Ta-ta.